Alright guys, Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons. What I've got for you today is analysis to band-maid song Unleash. This was a request made through Patreon. If you have the means and inclination to support me on that, make sure to hit up patreon.com/JBF Music. On that note, I want to give a huge shout out and a massive thank you to Rabbi Rabs, Matt Hortzman, Glenn Kelly, Stephen Williams, Rebecca Hay and Dale's Ghost. Thanks so much for your support on that platform. So this is going to be one of the starty stoppy analysis ones where I pick things apart. If you want more of a straight reaction, I'll link to it with the eye up there. But far too much for me, as per usual. Let's just get into it. Okay, so I'm using the music video for this one, as you probably gathered, so everything's a little bit clearer. But these sorts of songs do have a certain energy when they're just live. There's an interesting kind of anime thing going on here. So I know one of their songs was used, at least one has been used for an anime opening. So has this one been used, or is this just, it looks more like a band-maid thing, because we've got the lasers and we've got the kind of like maid outfit. So I thought that riff was really cool. So I think they're in drop D, but out of laziness I'll just do it in standard first. So probably here. Yeah, to make life easier, that's how I would play it. So I'd get the first fret on the A string, third fret on the E, basic power chord. 1, 2, 3, 5 strums there. Palm muting as well for that kind of chug. Same shape up here, so we've got the 4th fret on the A and 6th fret on the D, 2 there, and then so then it'll be to the 4 on the E string 4, 2 on the E string 4 on the A, same idea, 5 of them, and then another 2 just on the 1st and the 3rd fret. There's a 3 there as well. So it's something like, so to break that down, we've got like an A5 power chord, so open A string, 2nd fret on the D. 5 times you're going to strum that, and you want some palm muting for that kind of chunky sound. Use a power chord up at C here, so the 3rd fret on the A, 5th fret on the D. Play that 3 times, then move the shape down to an F power chord, so we've got a 1st fret on the E, 3rd fret on the A. That same kind of 5 chug. And then here what sounds like they're doing, rather than playing the E power chord, which is an open E, 2nd fret on the A, playing that 3 times. I think they're going twice, and then kind of just a kind of slop. Open one to change positions. So rather than going I think it's it just adds in this kind of punky thing to do, like the Hives. If you play it more polite, doesn't have the same energy. It's just putting the open strings. So it's the same idea, putting the open strings in between. So I'm going. Which you'll notice at a slower speed. I'll try that again. Also out of tune as well. Worse. Oh man. It's too warm in Scotland, my guitars can't handle it. I can't take it! Can't handle it, Captain! Aye, so adding in that kind of open thing, it adds a bit of kind of nice kind of slop. It's like kind of a Nirvana kind of thing. Kurt Cobain would do that quite a lot, and Gary Moore in a more kind of shred, technical, proficient way. But yeah, so play that slower. 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice it sounds cool at a slow pace as well, like really heavy pumping. Bonus points if you notice me inverting. that C power chord there. If I remember which video I talked about inverting power chords and I'll link to it with the I, which I think is up there. I need to write this down on a bit of paper so I don't forget which corner it's in. Okay, not long into the video and I've rambled on as per usual. Are they pan muting actually? Yeah, so a kind of light pan muting I think, and a kind of dirty fuzzy tone. If you don't have a fuzz pedal, just an overdrive but going on your neck pickup, we'll get that kind of more, it's kind of almost Burner and Queens of the Stone Age, slightly fuzzy sound. What is interesting in terms of the mixing and the production as well, the guitars are quite kind of grimy, almost grungy. The drums are very, very clear, kind of, if you had a Venn diagram between metal and pop, I think that's where the drums would sit. Very punchy, very kind of bright, very tight sounding, not much reverb on them. And that kick drum's really prominent in the mix. So that's quite a cool idea. What they've done is taken the same chord progression, but starting on a different place. So instead of going the A, 5 to the C5, to the F, 5 to the E5, we're starting on the F. And then just going through the progression that way. So you got an F to an E to the A to the C. So I'd maybe call this an E, loosely E Phrygian tonality, but yeah. Cool little chromatic doon 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 doon. Or I think probably that. Nope. Nope. What? Oh no, come on. Yeah, so I think we're just going power chord built on the 5th fret, on the E to the 7th fret on the A. Just make that down a semitone, down one more, and down second one there. Yeah, I completely forgot to say there. What's particularly cool about this chord progression is kind of a punk ethos would really just have 3 chords. The famous punk saying is there is no 4th chord. It's a bit of an exaggeration because punk songs can be more complex than that. But what I like here is they've taken the same chord progression but changed which one they start on, so it adds a bit of variation while still being kind of like true to kind of punk or garage rock and not making things too complicated. So the chromatics are quite typical of kind of, I don't know, maybe like a Dead Kennedys kind of garagey rock thing as well. The heaviness of the bass really makes it sound more modern and less like a kind of 90s. I put this somewhere in between garage punk and hardcore in terms of the guitar riff and kind of how it sounds. So here we kind of changed the accent. So this is it's a good lesson in dynamics here because we've got the same cycle of chords. We started on a different type of chord, and here, if you listen to the rhythm. So the rhythm's kind of changed to, so very similar, but just enough of a dynamic shift that is different. And I think the lead was doing something. Just a little, maybe one of those, some sort of double stop. Where is it? No, that's not it. It might just be trend picking. The way I would do it. Well, it might be that. I'm just hearing the single note, I could be mistaken. So 15th fret on the B, up to 17th fret on the B. Just sounds like a wee overdub rather than a kind of real part. Octaves, of course. Yeah, okay. So it could be octaves, could be using the octave pedal. If you want to just play it as an octave without the fancy pedal. 12th fret on the D, same 15th fret on the B. Play those together. This middle string, you'll just be able to kind of mute it out with the first finger because it'll rest on top of it. Out of tune again. I think to slide that up here, so we've got the 14th fret and the 17th fret. Oh man, this is really bugging me today. So it's not just a tuning thing, my intonation's gone off a bit as well, so that'll be a fun afternoon I'll need to set aside to set all my guitars up. Yay! So, yeah, there's a cool little riff there, and then we've got quite a, not necessarily a tonal shift in terms of music theory, but tonal shift in terms of the timbre, in terms of the texture. So part of it sounds like there's a different a drive pedal on, or a different type of gain staging. I do have potential spoilers, a video on what I think Kanami's doing on her pedal board coming out. It went really long, so it might take me a long time to edit it down. But that kind of talks about these texture changes a little bit, so I don't want to derail it too much because I think that's something I've hopefully will be explained enough in that video. But here, instead of palm muting, there's also going to the playing it open. So there, it's kind of an open feel, and then here, that's where you get that EQ shift. So it's a kind of more kind of mid-range heavy, slightly narrower, slightly honkier sound. And there, like dropping the gain a bit so you can get this kind of Spannish-y, what would be. So this is why I think it kind of sounds Phrygian. Just we got the open strings in. It's almost new metal in a way as well. Okay, so they are in dropped. Should I just bite the bullet and drop D at this point? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to drop my E down to a D, and we've got this. So if you're in standard tuning, this would be a kind of an octave shape. You'd be on the 2nd fret on the E string, 4th fret on the D, 3rd fret on the G. I'm pretty sure from the live version they were in drop D. The way I could tell is sometimes it sounds like a D. Tune probably, am I? If you see a finger doing this kind of thing, and they're playing a chord and it's sounding good, it's probably in drop D, because you can play a chord with just one finger. If you want riffs in drop D for the guitarist, there's a link to some kind of easier ones with the eye up there. But we have this kind of, so 4 on what is, I'll call it the 6th string, used to be the E, but it's now D. Then we've got 3 on the G string, 4 on the D. Same shape, just move up a semitone. And then kind of strum through it. So for this final one, we've got 7, nothing, 7, 6. And again, like the octaves, where this finger kind of mutes out that string in the middle, you'll probably find with this chord shape here, your middle finger, which is on that 7th fret, will be able to mute out the A string. So there might be a tiny harmonic, but when everything else is playing, you don't hear it because it's so staccato. There's no sustain to it. And this sound here, when I mumbled things about Phrygian before, is kind of a Phrygian-y sound to some extent. It's changing it a wee bit. It's got that kind of Spanish feel. So that's like, broadly speaking, Phrygian. Technically, we could call it Phrygian dominant, but I don't want to derail myself too much. I've talked about that before, so I'll link to stuff with the ever-present I. So doing a bit of a clear out, and I found an Iron Maiden hit flask. It's a hit flask with a wee Eddie on it. being a Scotsman, I do tend to carry this is such a horrible cliche. I do tend to carry about a wee hip flask of whiskey for, you know, emergencies. And that reminded me of it there. So I'll need to give the old heady one a good clean out and get it in my jacket. But I like the imagine to. This is the cool thing about animation. You can show quite a lot of personality with very little kind of. I haven't even got her name on the headstock. Just like small details, like just having a hit flask or having the drumsticks or having a kind of, you know, peace sign or whatever. And a banana. Was that it's to do with her being like a. There was someone was trying to teach. Sorry, I completely forget who it was. Was trying to teach one of the chatbots about bandmaid. And it said it was something to do with like played drums like a gorilla, but needed corrected. I'm worse than a chatbot here. Let me know in the comments what that's about. But is there not something to do with her like having the stamina of a gorilla or something like that, or beating the drums like a gorilla beats its chest? Vague memory of this. I'm slowly learning trivia, but my brain can't hold on to it very well. The attention to detail is really cool because here on the guitar, I think Kanami's. It looked like the inlays were the PRS style ones. Yeah, they are cool. They are cool. So you can see, I think that my cursor might be recording. If it's not, you know, you can probably see it. But the little things that look like birds. So it's really cool. The artists have gone to the lens to kind of make it that sort of accurate, even though it's kind of like a broad strokes. It's, you know, it's not like a Spirited Away style anime where everything is meticulously done. But it looks incredibly cool. Very effective. I like the Tama kit and the bandmaid on it and stuff as well. Very cool. And the little there was a show called Adam and Joe Go Tokyo on years and years ago, and there's a thing called Kawaii, and I think they'd said it's a thing in Japan where having your teeth kind of sticking out for women is like seen as kind of cute. So I think that's like a stylized thing, like to not get braces so your canines kind of poke forward a wee bit. Let me know if there's any truth to that or if I've misremembered it or whatever. Cool, and here we've got like another sonic texture change again. So if you thought, oh, that sounds a bit like there's an octave pedal on there, spot on. It's probably the, by this point in time it might be the Eventide. She seems to have switched from the whammy drop to the Eventide for most harmonising stuff, I think. Yeah, and before we've had like a kind of a... I said circus ground burrito, but you guys heard it's circus grunge burrito, which I think sounded much better. And it's tapping into that kind of manic circus vibe again, isn't it? Like I just get like a kind of a mirror maze or something like that, or some sort of like just slightly dilapidated fun park. It's like where everything's it's almost broken, but not quite. But it's stylized to look that way. Yeah, so they're really playing about with the texture shifts more than anything, which is interesting because it's a dynamic that's used in kind of more modern music, like kind of maybe more modern hip hop and things like that, rather than it being a complex chord progression. There's just interesting timbre shifts. So what they've got here is a kind of static idea, more or less, but then there's a lot of texture changes in terms of mainly how the guitar is sounding, mainly the lead guitar, I think. Like that's really kind of thin, really scratchy, really, you know, kind of yeah. So maybe like maybe a middle pickup or even a phase reverse thing, which I won't get into, but I might show another day with a guitar. So if we want that riff, if you want it the way they probably play it. So roll down is the Metallica way, the punk way. If we're in drop D, bar that 7th fret on the bottom 3 strings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to the 10th fret, and we do 3 there. I would tend to use my 3rd finger for that, so there's a little bit less jumping about, but do work for you. Then we've got quite a big jump down. 5 on that would be that 3rd fret. And again, it's this thing where we're just playing all the 3rd frets. Then 2 strums here on the 2nd fret, and I just go open open D, A and D strings. So slower you'd have there. I just used one finger. That might be easier. I probably prefer to use those two, but you know, you do you. That is cool, I think. It's like this kind of chuggy rhythm, but there might be a delay on it as well. Dun, dun, dun. So they might, yeah, there's something interesting going on here. I don't know if they're just going. So that's like an open to 2 to 3 to 5 on the D. It sounds like there's a weird slapback delay thing going on. Or it could be this is a slight like synthetic or robotic texture to it, so they could have just I did this in another video as well, but I forget which one it was. If I remember, I'll link to there. But you can basically take you can play a chord, you can take that audio sample and you can just copy and paste it, and you get this really kind of uniform, like much more uniform than that. It sounds kind of oddly robotic. It could just be they're dun 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 dun, but there's a tiny bit of like slapback delay on or something like that. Sounds really cool anyway, very heavy. Yeah, just great, kind of tight playing. I think there's maybe like a tiny 16th slapback or something going on. Cool, so there's some interesting kind of harmony things going on here as well. Bass fill and that bam 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 boom descending thing they like to do. That was cool as well. So dun 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 dun. Got the vocals, the drums, and like all the guitars and the bass going along with that. So you can hear dun, 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 dun. She's keeping it syncopated, so it's still interesting, but it helps kind of make that bit pop out. So if that bit ever jumped out at you before, that's probably why. It's that cool little chromatic boom 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 descent again. Oh, that's interesting. So some sort of electro drums or synth or something? So I think there's like a sampled hi-hat or like a digital hi-hat and some kind of keyboard on in the back. Cool. So this has got kind of like a slight halftime feel to it. So it feels a bit heavier. Just coming in. So that's like kind of like almost an electro groove, and then which I didn't pick up on in the live version at all. So that's really interesting. And then. So it's that same kind of chord progression from before, but with more variations in it. So I think the toms doom 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 doom, so it goes into the drums. There's a kind of doom doom little fills going on. It's not necessarily a fill, more of a kind of groove thing, I suppose. Decoration, I'll call it decoration. That was cool. So that maybe whammy bar. Again, a really interesting texture. I can't tell if there's a bit of whammy bar work going on or just a bit of chorus to detune it, but it sounds really cool and warbly there. So it sounds like the octave pedal's probably on there, and we've got a fairly kind of simple melody being repeated and varied on. And then that's really quite dissonant compared to everything else going on. And some kind of fast picking, and that was really spicy, that one there. There's it. So that would be probably a semitone below whatever the chord's been played. So I think the chord underneath is probably that, and the notes being played are this. So you get this. Where are we? I get it. Well, let's check it. Let's find out for sure. So we've got crunch. So yeah, the first chord's this. The note we've got played on top. And the second chord's this. The note this. So still quite crunchy there as well. What would that be? A major seventh on the first one, and then a sixth on the second one. And this is goes to show it's not always, doesn't always serve the song best to resolve the notes in the chord and follow the chord. Sometimes you want to create the tension and release. It's all about finding the balance, really, isn't it? I like that kind of Power Rangers bit there, because we've all got different colours as well. Back to the kind of octave thing that she likes to do. So it's kind of like a, what was it called? Is it Sailor Moon, where they just transformed? Is that what this is kind of going for? Or is that just too generic? Well, yeah, what would be really cool, just when there's the spaceship there in particular, maybe think of, the Daft Punk videos with like the blue people, and it was kind of like a story. It'd be really cool if they did that as well. Maybe they have, let me know. I realise I've completely neglected to put the lyrics on here. I'll listen to it again, and if anything jumps out at me, I'll pick it apart. I got a big gun or something. What's going to happen? Are we going to unleash the fury? Cool, and they're a little bit dynamic thing as well, so dropping out, so we've just got the drums and the bass. That was it. Oh no, and the vocals. Maybe a pan-muted guitar as well. A dynamic drop anyway. It's a really interesting lead part. It almost sounds like a sort of like 8-bit like wasp or something, or some sort of little bug. That's kind of like like a bee or something, but in 8-bit form with like a bit of ring mod on it. Very cool. Cool. I am going to do the lyric listen here and see if anything jumps out. I'm not always great with lyrics, so you might get an awkward edit. Okay, so yes, lyrics work very well with the music video because there's some sort of like ominous presence that's sort of like imposing, and then your kind of extremes between good and evil here. So I suspect it's maybe going to go on, you can't have one without the other type thing, but we'll find out. Oh, I also just caught there's a pigeon here. The glowing up, she's turning into her pigeon self. Okay, didn't clock that before. So this is kind of clever as well. So it's how many times don't be afraid of change, and we've changed from the animated thing to the real live video, and obviously Unleash kind of coming in with the chorus. Another cool thing I've only picked up on here is a dun 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 dun. They sometimes sing over the top of it. It's like here. Yeah, dun 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 or dun 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 dun, something like that. Just on, I think, Miku's backing vocal. Alright, okay, and then here I wasn't paying enough attention to this. There's the evil force is being destroyed by, I suppose, the power of teamwork, really. Much like the Lego film. different vibe, same sort of, It's interesting because the song isn't really about teamwork here, or about like working together to overcome, but it's kind of somewhat implied by the video. So I suppose, I said Next New World there, destroying old bad habits and unleashing your true potential, something to that effect. Cool. So it's sort of like a garage punk song, but done in like the band-maid way, where instead of varying the dynamics by just instruments dropping in and out, like Hate to Say I Told You So is a great example of that. It's basically one riff, and then it goes to like a chord, and then it's just dynamics. And there's actually texture changes on that as well. If you listen to the studio version, there's like bits where the guitar is maybe using like a tremolo effect, or I think there's one bit where there's kind of a phaser, which they won't bother doing live. It's just for a kind of studio thing. So it's interesting to see their take on kind of like a punk. It's not punk anymore because it's too busy. So it's almost like a new wave. We can get away with calling it new wave, I reckon, because that's kind of what punk sort of became in that regard, I think. It's not really a new wave song, but it's like a new wave ethos on a garage rock tune. So with this very cool still here as the backdrop, cheers again for that suggestion. If you've got one of your own on Patreon, if you want to hit subscribe to make sure you never miss out on new content, that's great. There'll be more videos around here to check out. If you want to leave a like and a comment, that's superb as well. But cheers guys, hope you're all having a great one.